Alright guys, should probably take my jacket off, huh? Well, today, figured I'd throw the camera on. I'm out here in my shop. I'm actually recycling some of my lead. These are my lovely old 462 gas check hammer bullets for the 1895, the Marlin. I'm recycling them because I sold that mold. I was having issues with that style bullet in standard lube and powder coat. If I seat to the crimp groove, if I seat to this, come on, focus, man. I really love this phone, but I hate it as a video camera. Okay, real quick, there we go. That crimp groove, if I go and seat to that crimp groove, crimp in nice and tight. If I cycle them, they cycle actually very well. I don't recall ever having an issue with them cycling, but I do have issues where if I go into battery, usually the lever, it'll roll up and you'll feel it click into battery where it locks in. It doesn't really lock in. You actually have to really squeeze on it to push it into the lands and get it to lock into battery. That could be good or bad. It could be good because you're in the lands. There's no gap to jump for the bullet. So when it ignites, there's no distance that the bullet has the opportunity to, we'll call it, get off center or become off center. So in an ideal world where everything is perfect, it should go straight into the lands, be really, really center, and have no out of balance issues. I'm not sure what the term is, the correct terminology, but out of balance issues. The downside is there's usually a gap to jump because that bullet needs to unseat out of the case. So when you seat a bullet in the case, it's in a steady or a position that is under tension, so the bullet's actually held in by a crimp, whether it be taper or roll, and the neck tension of the case. Neck tension is always different depending on projectile size, the dies that resize a case, what the internal dimension of the case is, stuff like that. So that always changes depending on dies and stuff, bullets, etc., etc., what you size to. What alloy you're using, even, because softer alloys will swage down with the case. So everything has a bearing on that. There's so many variables. But if it's seated in the lands, when you go to ignite, that initial ignition, it needs to somewhat uncork to allow for expanding gases, so it doesn't necessarily pressure spike. Now, if it's seated into the lands, you're going to see that initial pressure spike because it doesn't have room to, I call it uncork. I'm sure there's a technical term that I don't know. It doesn't have time to uncork and allow for the bullet to start moving and coming out of the case under less resistance before it hits the lands or the grooves, or the rifling, rather, I'll just call it, before it hits that. So it does generate a pressure spike, and I would assume it generates more pressure overall also. So it shot well. It did shoot very well. I'm not a huge fan of the flat nose. I got this because it looked really cool. When I looked at it online, it was my first custom brass mold, so I bought it. I was all happy, and I cast for it. It shot well. It wasn't that bad to load for. The wide nose, I'm not a huge fan of. If I was hunting and taking shots within 100 yards, probably, honestly, I'd be taking shots within 75 yards. In all honesty, I could shoot it very accurately at 100, but I would much rather shoot it at 75 or less hunting, but I can't hunt that way in New Jersey. So the bullet, for my purposes, doesn't have any use right now. So I don't hold on to stuff I can't use. That's just how I am. I've always been that way. If I don't use it for 6 months, it goes. It's that simple. Like the bike, the only reason the bike's here is because I still owe money on it, which is a bad thing. But I love my bike, so that's not going. That's been sitting for probably a little over 6 months. So there's only a select few things that I won't get rid of if I don't use frequently. So that being said, I sold that mold. I got the NOE 458. I think it's a 350. It's an HTC mold or a high-tech coating mold. It's 3 different nose configurations, I believe. I think it's a flat nose, or solid nose, I should call it. Deep hollow point and shallow hollow point. So I decided to go with that overall because I think compared to the flat nose, it will be a more aerodynamic projectile, and I would like to see if I could run this out to 300 yards, 400 yards with irons. Granted, I'm not the best shooter, so this is a new goal for me. So I decided to go that route, and I do not have any lead. Like I have, what do I have? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 24, 27, 30, 33 pounds of lead. That's all I have. I need to reclaim some of my lead so I can cast up more stuff. I believe I have approximately 20, 25 maybe pounds cast in this bolt design that I'm no longer going to use. So, I saved a handful that are already powder coated and a handful that are not. They fill a little Maxwell cup, or Folgers, I'm sorry, cup. Maxwell, They fill a little Folgers cup, half and half between unfinished and powder coated. So I saved a little bit just in case. I have some soft stuff that I still haven't shot or ballistically tested for expansion. So I have that. Right now I'm recycling my lead, and I'm going to start mixing a new, or another batch I should call it, of my hollow point alloy, because I'd like to cast the new mold in a hollow point also and see if I can get the results I desire out of that. Because if I do, then I'm just going to scrap this bullet overall. In all honesty, if I can get the new bullet to expand if I can get it to expand to 500 thousandths and retain the majority of its weight, I would say 90% of its weight, maybe 80% of its weight. If I can get the alloy right and do that, I'll be happy with it, where I will no longer need this bullet design. So if that happens, I'll be switching all the way over to that. And where was I going with that statement? See, stuff like that just go, I forget it so darn quick anymore. I don't even remember where I was going. Oh well. Alright, so that's the game plan here. I would like to use that for hunting if I decide to go hunting in states that allow me to hunt with a 45-70. So I'll have to look into that. I started getting into archery. I got a compound bow. I got to learn how to sight that in and shoot it. I'm very good at hitting trees. Well, I shouldn't say trees. I'm very good at hitting sticks and leaves. And I can shoot that thing like 100 yards into the woods with no issue. So, I just got to figure out how to hit a target on a deer that's about that size. If I can do that, we'll be alright. But for right now, it's not. I mean, on a good day, I could do it 4 out of 5 shots. The last 3 times I went out to try and practice with it, I sort of clean over the deer, the target deer I have, and I was like, well, at least I know this will fly 100 yards. So, wanted to make an update that wasn't political. I'm going to do a political rant one of these days again. I just need to take notes and get a dry erase board and do some graphics and editing and some conspiracy theory stuff. No, just kidding. I'm not doing conspiracy theory stuff. When I do the political stuff, I want to actually get my act together and make sure I'm on point and I'm going with reliable sources instead of just hearsay. And I have not been prepared to that point yet. So, with that in mind, I'm going to stick to doing what I know how to do. I might actually do a couple archery videos now. I might do a couple mechanical videos because I am a service technician. That's what I do for a living. So, I might broaden the scope of this channel a little bit. Just because of what's happening with gun channels, and I kind of am in fear, but if it's my time, it's my time, no matter what I'm talking about. So, if it's my time to be banned, it's my time to be banned. If it's my time to get strikes, it's my time to get strikes. It is what it is. I'm going to make what I want. That's part of being an American. You can do as you please so long as it's not harming others, and I do not believe what I'm showing you here is of any harm to anyone else. So long as you do it safely and have common sense. And not liberal common sense. I mean like actual common sense. Like hot lead, don't touch. That kind of common sense. I think you're not of harm to yourself. And usually people doing this stuff are the type of people that are firearms enthusiasts like myself that really enjoy the sport. I really enjoy working up these loads and sitting at a bench and seeing what I can do. Whether it be me getting a nice tiny little 100-yard group or me slinging a piece of lead out 400 yards and seeing if I can hit a 16-inch steel plate. I enjoy a challenge like this. All this stuff is new to me, and I definitely enjoy challenges like this because it makes me think. I go to work and I do the same thing over and over and over again. Sometimes I get challenged. For the most part, I'm bored out of my mind. So I like being challenged on different levels. I like being able to think and having things befuddle me. I like a good mental challenge, something that really gets you thinking. So this is the kind of stuff that I like doing. I like doing detail oriented, very precise stuff. Not necessarily that my stuff's that precise at this point, but hopefully it will be. So I've always been this way. I always will be. 6 years old, I was pulling apart a bicycle just because I wanted to see how it worked. That's who I am. That's what I am. It's not just nuts and bolts on cars, or it's anything. Anything that man's made, I'd like to know how it works. I'd like to know if I can make it better. I'd like to know what weaknesses it has and how I can diagnose those weaknesses and improve them. I should have been an engineer. I feel like I should have been an engineer. But I'm going to let you guys go for now. I'm already at 12 minutes and I keep rambling. So just stay tuned. I'm going to try and get some videos up. I got to get all my ducks in a row over here and try and get stuff together. I got a bunch of projects to do on the house. So I'm just trying to get the ambition and everything together to do this the way I'd like to do it now. Instead of just throwing together a video like this, no editing, nothing. I'd like to kind of step my game up a little bit. So hopefully you guys stay tuned. I know there aren't many of you, but I do appreciate you watching a lot. It does mean a lot to me. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you.